Welcome to it, sports fans. A different ball game Thursday evening. Shaping up to be a good week here. The NBA announced their schedule today in Orlando. The NHL worked it out. The NFL are looking good. College football not looking so good. Oh, that is looking tricky. The Ivy Leagues have said no sport this spring. That is wild scenes in America. But everywhere else, New Zealand, the rugby's back. Australians have figured it out. And then 3TC. Of course, the cricket is back in South Africa. Solidarity Cup on Saturday. So slowly but surely, we're kind of inching our way there. And we'll be with you Monday to Friday, talk about it, talk through it. And, enjoy this thing. We're nearly rolling it out. Feels good. Some sort of normal returning. And with me to discuss all of this, of course, she's back, Woude Muller. Woude, what's happening?
Hello. Yes, I'm back. Awesome to be here. And I have to say this, I met my nephew today. I know all of you heard that I got a nephew. Met him today. I fell in love. First boy to ever steal my heart.
Oh, wonderful story. So it's just a wonderful tale. Here we thought Woude would be a spinster with her cats into her 40s, but you found love. Good for you, Woude.
I found love. Oh, he's so cute.
Yeah, maybe a little young, but good for you.
Well, a lot of these older women go for a lot younger men I don't think that the age difference is not the problem. I think the fact that he's my family could cause probably the biggest problem in all of this whole situation. So, yeah. Any boy that wants to steal my heart from here will have to work really hard.
I've seen Game of Thrones. It seems, hey, we're all out there with it now. So family, brother, sister, niece, nephew. Hey, Elon Musk's dad, by the way, is had a baby with the daughter he adopted. I don't know if you're aware of that. So it's wide open now.
No, that's
that's real.
Weird family.
That happened. I'm telling you something that happened. He had a baby with her. He's 70 and she's 30. And that's what's happening. So, hey, welcome to the 21st century, Woude. Not everywhere is George. Just letting you know what's happening. All right, Woude, welcome back. Great to hear that your family is healthy and well. Welcome to the world. The next Muller. Welcome, and I'm glad the baby is healthy. Let's get to it and let's have a great show. So today we're going to talk a little bit Jofra Archer, just out of hand. I'll address what I think of that. And then Woude will let us, of course, she's back. It is rugby's back. We're rolling this thing out. She'll let us know what she thinks about the action that's coming up on the weekend in the rugby. But let's get straight into it. Listen, we're going to have to talk about Jofra Archer because it's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. There's a level of ridiculous where you start to think to yourself, are these people on the same planet as us? And for me, by the way, I must tell you, I always say sportsmen are underpaid. I don't care. Patrick Mahomes has got $500 million underpaid because what they make off the sportsmen in the corporate world, exorbitant fees, right? So I'll always argue for sportsmen. There's this kind of narrative. So I played very, very serious sport when I was younger, 18, 19. So I've been close to the top. And there's this notion and romanticized sort of notion from sports people or sportsmen themselves that they have to sacrifice. And I think Michael Holding nailed it. Hey, Nelson Mandela going to jail for 27 years is sacrifice. You as Jofra Archer getting paid £3-4 million a year to go sit in a 5-star hotel and play cricket for a living. I'm sorry, that's not sacrifice. So I don't want to hear sportsmen saying, oh, I've got so much to sacrifice and I'm away from my family. Stop it. The world is always talking to us. Somebody said this to me one day is the world is always talking to you. And when we talk in the context of business, the world is talking to you. The language is called money. And you know how a company tells you how much they expect from you? It's who gets paid the most. If you get paid the most money, you have the most responsibility. So let's take the world as a company. Hey, sportsmen, you make the most money for having a fun job in the world. So what we're saying to you is, hey, just a little bit. You don't even need to be self-aware. Just a little bit. Take a little pinch every now and then. Jofra Archer for 3 months of the year has to be disciplined. They don't play cricket for 9 months of the year. Don't give me that. You play cricket 3 to 6 months of the year. Just for 3 to 6 months, give it up. And I'll tell you what, here's £5 million. You don't have to do anything else. Jofra Archer decided it was a good idea to go to his girlfriend's house, right? So 120-mile detour. What's that? About 200-kilometer detour from the stadium from the first test 3 days ago. Do you understand the level of selfish you have to be? And people go, oh, do you expect him to be perfect? No. But in this case, it's not just about him. And he's 25 years old now. What he's putting up is, okay, now the government goes, ooh, guys, we're kind of treating you specially. And there was huge blowback from the society. People are losing jobs. Millions of people in England have lost their jobs. Jofra Archer didn't take a haircut on his salary, which is around £3-4 million a year. To whom much is given, much is expected. Dude, can you not just think for a moment what you're doing? Just for a second. Drive straight from the last test to the next test and play cricket. That's it. We're asking you for 5 more days to be disciplined. So Archer must never be framed as the victim here. I don't want to hear it. And I will always argue for sportsmen, always. Because there's always an argument of they don't work hard enough, they don't earn the money. Nonsense. It is a brutal world physically, right? And psychologically, it's a brutal world. But what I won't have is how much sacrifice they make. Sportsmen make no sacrifice. People who die so that people may have freedoms. Women, the Rosa Parks, that was a sacrifice. Sportsmen, it's a privilege. S'il play, do us all a favor. And I put sportsmen on a pedestal. They work hard. They kill themselves to be where they are. But don't tell me you sacrifice it. Because you get millions of dollars, millions of pounds in exchange. Don't do it. Archer, it's so out of hand. I can't actually deal with this guy right now. And let me tell you something. If I'm Ed Smith and I'm English cricket, I give him the most severe punishment for the series. You're out for the rest of the series. We're dealing with a global pandemic, dude. It's not about you. And here's why I ban him for the rest of the series. Because whether we like it or not, sport isn't now just, oh, we're playing sport. It's a business. And very easily, right, we've seen numbers are going back up. We knew a second spike would come. We know from a political angle, everybody will overreact. It is so easy. It is so easy now for Boris to come in and go, uh-oh, we're going to put the brakes on it. What does that mean for English cricket? What does that mean for sport? It is rumored that of the 6 tests that we'll have this year, the base fee from Sky Sports and Right Around is £120 million. So give or take, it's about £120 million per test. So they're obviously playing this test. It's £20 million, £40 million in the bag. What if Jofra Archer costs cricket £80 million? Because there's 4 tests left in the year. What if Boris tomorrow comes and says, all right, last test, you guys can't keep it in a bag. We told you the rules. You guys can't play by the rules. We're letting you stay in 5-star hotels. We've bent over backwards. We've taken backlash from the society. It's an election year, by the way. Boris taking heat. No, thank you. Don't need it. Jofra Archer, you bring down English cricket for the season. Tell you what that affects. County cricket. What happens to the counties that don't make money off the test matches, the revenues? You have to pay. You have to pay to higher stadiums. It's not just about Jofra Archer and boo-hoo. Oh, come on, let's be reasonable. It's about the whole of cricket for the season. If I'm England, honestly, Archer, you're out. It's as severe to me as Ben Stokes having the fight in public. He should be brutally cut off now. Because it's about business. And lastly, I heard, I was reading Ravi Bopara comparing this, and a few people on Twitter, comparing him to Kevin Peterson. Like, like this guy, what about him? Why didn't he get chopped immediately? Because he was a prickly guy, Kevin Peterson. Listen, this is so far apart. Kevin Peterson was prickly on the field, in the dressing room. Like him or not, Kevin Peterson, I've never heard, even Strauss, even those detractors, Michael Vaughan, if you haven't seen the documentary, the detractor was always in the dressing room, on the field. Never off the field. KP, for all of his shortcomings, never let himself become bigger than the team. because everything that happened was in the dressing room. He addressed things in the dressing room, on the field, prickly on the field, always defending the three lions. So please don't make that comparison. Jofra Archer has shown an innate lack of self-awareness. And if I'm English cricket, I put a sledgehammer down. Because, listen, we don't know how long this thing's going to go. Remember at the beginning of COVID, we thought, 3 months, 2 months, we'll sort this thing out. It's like the flu. We've heard so many people saying, no. There's a good chance we're going into 2021 cricket, no fans. Jofra Archer, right now, we don't enable that behavior and don't compare him to Kevin Peterson. Love Kevin Peterson, hate Kevin Peterson on the field. His issues were personality on the field, in the dressing room. Never about bigger off the field. Global pandemic, show some awareness, brother. 2-3 million pounds a year. And you can't just get in your car, drive to a 5-star hotel, order any meal you want at any time you want. It's too much. It's a sacrifice for you. It's not a sacrifice. 27 years in prison, Nelson Mandela. That's a sacrifice. Jofra Archer, get out of here. You stink. Stooge of the week. Stooge of the week. Can't stand the sight of him. So glad he's out. And I hope English cricket do the right thing. Hey, speaking of doing the right thing, the rugby, it's back. I'm so happy about rugby being back. I'm so happy about the rugby being back. I don't know what accent that is. I don't think people like it, but I'm going to go with it. I am who I am. Oprah said you must live your own truth. Oprah's got Stedman locked out of her house right now. Saw it on Instagram. Speaking of Oprah and older women, Woude Muller with the skip pass.
How am I supposed to start a skip pass with that in Bolelo? Oh my gosh, I'm not that old. I even got a compliment the other day that someone said to me, "What? You're turning 33? You only look 28." So can we just put that out there? So my birthday is on Saturday. I have to mention that again because I love my birthday. I'm really looking forward to that. But what I'm really happy about is the fact that the Crusaders do have a bye this weekend, because I'm so sorry. Our producer's playing me happy birthday in the background. So, okay, I'm going to start again. Thank goodness the Crusaders are not playing this weekend, because it means that I don't miss them, because I can't watch a lot of rugby this weekend. So I'm really, really happy about that. But we are at the halfway mark of the New Zealand competition. So which means every single team has played the other team once already, and they're now going into playing each team for the second time. So if you look at the standings of that, we can see the Crusaders are obviously top of the log on 18 points. The Crusaders have just been amazing, and we've been saying it from the start, and Mbolelo keeps saying it, that the Crusaders are definitely the best team in world rugby in general, probably, and the best coach team. Blues in second place on 12 points. They did have a top of the clash, or top of the log clash last weekend, and the Crusaders obviously won that one. So just so much better than the second team, and the Blues are probably the only team that would be able to catch the Crusaders if something had to happen to the Crusaders. Hurricanes, Highlanders, Chiefs, I mean, quite far behind. I don't think there would be a chance for them, but some people also say that New Zealand teams have the ability to turn things around. Not that I think it's going to happen here. That's how we're standing after week 5. This weekend, I'm going to start. Let's have a look first at the Australian team. The Reds and the Force are battling it out on Friday. Obviously, the Reds heavily favored for this one. Both teams struggled at the set pieces last week, so it'll be quite interesting to see who will be dominating that and how they're going to be dominating in those areas. But last week, the Reds came back from 18-8 down with 5 minutes to play, and they ended up drawing the match against the Rebels. And I must say that it's pretty great to come back in 5 minutes and be able to do either pretty great from the one team or really, really crappy from the other team, whichever way you want to look at it. But The Force had some moments of not looking too bad, but I just think the Rays will have too much quality. So I reckon the Rays will win this one probably with a bonus point. And then on Saturday, we have the Waratahs and the Brumbies. The last time they played against each other, which was earlier this year, the Brumbies beat or smashed the Waratahs 47-14. So I think the Brumbies are also in for quite a comfortable victory. See if they will be able to counter that, what they're going to do to counter that. But the Brumbies probably have the strongest pack in the competition, also the best line-out. Again, and not that it says much because it is the Australian competition, so I'm just going to leave that there. But the Brumbies do score a lot of tries from their set pieces. So even though the Brumbies are playing away from home, I reckon they will win comfortably 10 to 15 points. What do you say about the Australian game, Mbolelo, before I go on to the quality games of the weekend?
Tricky stuff. That Reds team is, I can't believe they're probably the team. They are awful.
Yeah.
They are awful. Australian rugby is, wow, like it's like having a rich, terrible girlfriend, really. You're kind of trapped in a terrible relationship. Can't really leave. Oh, no good.
Well, you can leave. I left one of those. Relationships.
Oh, I didn't know you had a rich ex-girlfriend.
Not with a girl.
Oh, by the way, open to it, whatever. This is a safe space. But yeah, I know a few guys who are with a terrible girlfriend. This is what watching Australian rugby is like. It's like, oh, I want to leave, but I also want to go skiing at the end of the year. It's tough.
It's a tough call. It's a tough call to make, but and I had exactly that call to make. I needed to decide: am I going to go skiing or am I going to keep my dignity? And I didn't go skiing. But anyway,
well done for leaving your ex-girlfriend. Yeah, let's get back to the rugby.
So in New Zealand, the Hurricanes are taking on the Blues, and obviously the Blues have already beaten the Hurricanes this year. Only that was at Eden Park. The Blues do have a lot of injuries for this weekend. Hoskins Sototo, who's been absolutely incredible in the number 8 jersey, is out with a knee injury. Let's hope it's not too serious and he could be back for the next game. James Parsons, who has been brilliant on hooker, is out with a concussion. John Robinson's out with a knee, and Caleb Clark, the brilliant young wing, is also unavailable this weekend. So this means there are a few changes in the pack. Kurt Eklund is coming in. Aaron Carroll is replacing them. And Blake Gibson is also out. And then Caleb Clark is getting replaced by another 21-year-old, Narana. So that really firepower from the outside, from the 11, is not there. So it will be interesting to see how they're going to deal with that, what the Blues are going to do. And then obviously everyone was excited about this because Dan Carter was named on the bench, but he had to withdraw because of a calf strain. I'm writing that down to old age because at that age, at 38, you are more likely to get those injuries trying to play with the 21-year-olds. So unfortunately, sorry fans who went all the way to watch Dan Carter, who planned on going all the way, he is out for another. So I don't think the Blues did a great thing with signing him. So either they really needed to sign him for just being a mentor for Tara Black and especially maybe for Beauden Barrett. Like I said before, this is probably something that New Zealand rugby did because they obviously want to pay Beauden Barrett, and we know what he's been doing for the last couple of months. Year, Mbolelo will stay live. But anyway, the Hurricanes have most players back. Dane Coles is starting, which means Amoy is on the bench, but he has been absolutely great. So they've got 2 great hookers. Reed Princip is back. Jackson Gordon-Bash was starting at 10. Now, with this match, I don't really know how to call this one. I think it will be really, really close. Most of the Hurricanes are playing at home. The Blues have a lot of injuries, but I don't know how to call it. Maybe Blues by like 3. I don't know. And then on Sunday, the Chiefs and the Highlanders. The Chiefs are coming back from a bye. Who knows? Maybe they found some of their mojo in the bye week. they really need to win at least one match. They literally can't lose all their matches. Maybe this is the one for them to win because they haven't won any of their matches in this competition. And they lost to the Highlanders in the first round. So both teams have had like forgettable tournaments. Neither of them have been really great. And I think this weekend will probably be decided by the accuracy of the kickers. So we're all hoping that D-Mac is going to be wearing his kicking boots because I think it will come down to that. I think it will be close. I think it will be, yeah. The Chiefs have also not scored more than 20 points in 3 of their matches. Did you know that? That is how terrible the Chiefs have been. They just have not been able to click at all. So, I don't know. Again, Josh Yohone is back in the number 10 jersey, so it will be interesting to see are they starting. I haven't seen their lineup, actually. So if they're going to drop Mitch Hunt and then play Josh, and Dylan Hunt is also back in the Lucy. So maybe the Chiefs could win this one. I really want to believe that they can. It seems like I haven't been able to let go of them. So what do you think is going to happen?
I think the pressure's starting to be turned up on Beauden Barrett because his brother's having maybe the best season he's ever had. I got to say, it's probably the worst game. It's probably the worst game in New Zealand to watch. Because it's Highlanders Hurricanes, right? Or is it Highlanders Chiefs? Sorry, Highlanders Chiefs is the worst game.
Yeah.
It's the worst game. So we're really starting to see the Chiefs turn into Warren Ball, very one-dimensional. It's I can't believe I'm saying this. It's going to be a boring game, I think, by New Zealand standards. But that Hurricanes Blues game, listen, Beauden Barrett's human. Don't you dare. I said it about the Mwanga game last week. Don't you dare think he can't see the acclaim his brother's getting. It's going to get tetchy. Because if his brother has another one of those 60-meter kicks and then he's, I don't know, doing those, counter attacks, it's going to start getting interesting because the conversation's going to start moving that way, right? We live in a YouTube world now. YouTube clip highlights, and Geordie Barrett's starting to rack him up. So interesting for me to watch that Barrett battle.
So because you're saying that, I actually compared these two players in the games that we've seen them playing up until now. So I've compared, so we know we've got Geordie Barrett for the Hurricanes and Beauden Barrett for the Blues, both in the 15 jersey. So I actually put them two and compared them. Let's just remember when we're looking at this that Geordie Barrett has only played 2 games. So he did miss the first games because of his shoulder. He dislocated his shoulder. Beauden Barrett has played all the games for the Blues. If we look at the runs, Geordie Barrett did 21 runs, Beauden Barrett 23, and he played 2 games more. Meters made, Geordie Barrett so much more. Defenders beaten, only 2 behind. Clean breaks, more. Passes, obviously Beauden Barrett a few more. Turnovers conceded. That's the one thing I think Geordie Barrett could focus on, but with the new rules, we don't really know what's happening there. Try assists, 4 for Geordie Barrett, more than Beauden. Points, Geordie scored 12 points already, Beauden Barrett only 3. And then the tackles, Geordie Barrett made 14 tackles, only missed 1. Beauden Barrett, 16 tackles and he already missed 5. He only made 16 tackles in 4 games, and he missed 5 of them as a fullback. So it's going to be an interesting matchup between them, and Woude Muller is saying the fact that these two guys and the conversation is moving towards is Geordie Barrett the better player, especially at fullback. I do think probably the problem is, and I do think first 5 or fly half is probably his best position. A lot of people have been saying that he should maybe be moved to the bench and actually come on as an impact player. And I'm not totally against that. I think the impact he can bring from the bench will probably be more than the impact he's giving right now. So comparing these two players, I think Geordie has had a bigger impact in the games that he's been playing than what Beauden has done. So I don't think they're going to miss Beauden much when he goes to Japan next year.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Do you think, so I spoke to a very prominent New Zealand old head, one of the greatest players they've ever had, and I had the pleasure of being coached by him in school, but he was saying he thinks what they're doing with Beauden is because the load's been so heavy on him for the last 4 years. like they did with Carter, like they did with McCaw, is he's almost in a sabbatical period, but it's tough to hold him back because he's so aggressive. So not sure if you agree whether they they don't want him going as hard as possible now. Is we need him at the next World Cup to peak then. I don't know if you think that's what's happening.
No, absolutely. And I think that's why they agreed to send him to Japan. I don't think it was all of a sudden a decision when he signed with the Blues. I think even before he signed with the Blues, they knew that he's going to play a year in Japan. And obviously in Japan, the physicality is much less than what it is in New Zealand. In this competition now, week in, week out, you're playing hectic, difficult, physical matches. So you are going to get injured. We can see how many injuries there are just in the Blues team for this weekend. And the injuries have been building up. Like I've also said, the Crusaders have been the only team that's managed to really manage their squad well enough so that they can keep the injury count low. So in the next 5 weeks of the competition, it will be really interesting to see, one, how many injuries they're going to be, and two, how they're going to manage their squads. Because some people will have to be dropped for some matches or at least playing off the bench. So with Geordie, of course they want him to peak at the next World Cup. This is not a new thing that New Zealand has been doing. Sending him to Japan is not a bad option. Keeping him at the back, not a bad option, but then rather maybe play him off the bench for some games. Don't give him that opportunity to be on the field for 80 minutes if you don't want him to go full out. So manage him better.
And so now, I mean, it's real that this Mo'unga thing is real and Jordie Barrett is real. What do you do about the All Black situation? Do you just stick with Beauden because he's tried and tested, or do you go a different direction thinking to the next World Cup? I mean, we saw the All Blacks. What I like about the All Blacks is they are ruthless because Rieko Ioane for 3 years was untouchable. A year out, George Bridge comes in like, oh no, that's a better test. And I totally agree that Bridge I think he's a better wing than Rieko Ioane. But dropped. Like Ioane was the best wing in World Rugby for 3 years, a year out from the World Cup. Get your ass out of here. What do you think you do about that situation? Because it's a delicate situation. Beauden Barrett might look like a nice guy. He's still a superstar and he's still human. Yeah. You know, what if he says, oh, what? You don't see me as number one. I'm getting out of here.
Well, I don't think he'll do that. And that's why they definitely locked him into a contract till 2023. So he can't do that. But we spoke about Brian Abana last night. We can remember that Brian Abana went through a dip after 2007, 2011 World Cup. He only scored 2 tries. What do you want from your wing? You want him to score tries. So every single player, if you're going to be playing such a long career, at some point he's going to go through a dip. So we might be really hard on Beauden right now because we expect so much from him and because we've seen such incredible things from him. Other players are also going through dips. Sam Whitelock is not playing the kind of rugby that he's playing, but we're not giving him the flack that we're giving Beauden. So is it just because we see the flashiness of Beauden Barrett and we want him to constantly be that? And we're being so hard on him because he's not giving that to us right now. So I don't think we're necessarily maybe being very fair on him.
Fair. I just want to be clear. I'm off the Beauden Barrett thing. I have been for a while. So I just want to be clear on that. So, Vody, I hear what you're saying, but I'm out on Beauden Barrett as a test 10 or test 15. I think he should be a bench gadget player. But I know you think, and many people think Beauden's the guy. So I'm off the Beauden Barrett thing. So I don't expect anything from him. I've seen what he can do. Not good enough for me. After I saw him at the Lions and how he failed to kind of show me a different dimension after they could defend him at the line, I'm out. Yeah. But I hear what you're saying. I think you're making a good point.
Yeah, I'm seeing a question down there and said Beauden attained Geordie at 12 for New Zealand. And for the sake of putting in Havili or McKenzie at 15, what I've been seeing of Havili, I wouldn't play him at 15. I wouldn't play him. He's made too many mistakes right on the line, and both the tries the Blues scored last weekend was because of his bad defense. He missed 2 crucial tackles. But Ian Foster is in this position where he's got so many choices at 15. Will Jordan is coming through. And if we can get him into a few test matches to really see how he can play. Yes, he's playing in a very well-oiled machine at the moment. So maybe when he goes into the All Black setup, it might not be that, or into the Test setup. But Will Jordan is putting up his hand. Like someone said, now David Avili is there. Damian McKenzie, I just haven't seen from Damian what I want to see from him. Since he had his knee up, since he tore his ACL and he was out of the World Cup, I don't know, he hasn't really impressed me. So
yeah, it's a good point. I think Damian McKenzie's in a bit of a Ruan Pienaar situation. He's come out and said, I want to play fly half. And they're not finding that room for him. I don't know what they were doing, bringing Aaron Cruden back, because Damian McKenzie has declared, I am a fly half. And just because he's electrifying at the back, frankly, I think he's a better fly half than Beauden Barrett. But the Beauden Barrett thing at fly half, the problem is Jordie Barrett is X factor. You need the ball in his hands. Beauden Barrett doesn't pass. He doesn't pass. His thing is, I'm going to take you on at the line and beat you and create pressure. And once we're behind the defense, then I'll find my outside runners try time. Is if you put Beauden Barrett at fly half, Jordie Barrett doesn't get the ball.
But then we're putting out this thing. So really the only space that there is for Beauden Barrett could be at wing. But then the New Zealanders have such incredible wings. So this is really a conversation about where are you going to find space for Beauden Barrett? Because I do still believe he's an absolute incredible player. And he brings an X factor. And he brings a stability into his team. And he can be absolutely brilliant. And he has these absolute moments of brilliance. That's why I said maybe for him playing off the bench. And I think in last year's World Cup, we've seen how important it is to have your bomb squad and how brilliant people can play off the bench. So I think rugby has changed. And I think people need to change their minds about this. Rugby is not a 15-man sport anymore. No, it's not even just 23. Your whole squad is part of that. Like what the Crusaders are doing now. They're constantly rotating their players to keep everyone fit and healthy. So I think we need to change our mindset to say the people on the best are not the second best option. They're just doing better coming off the bench because they bring such incredible impact in the last, even if you want to play him for 40 minutes or 30 minutes. But it just brings such an impact from there on, where other players are already tired. Now you bring the speed and getting over that line from Beauden Barrett on. So maybe that is where we should play him.
Interesting points. Woude Muller, huh? Did you commit to the results for the weekend? I didn't hear what your Super Brew is. I have done my Super Brew.
Have you
committed to both? Okay, so you haven't committed to your results yet.
So I've committed to the Reds and I've committed to the Brumbies. I do not know who I'm going to commit to in the Hurricanes and the Blues and the Chiefs and the Highlanders. I can't make up my mind.
Oh, hey, news headline. Woman can't make up her mind. News headline. Hey.
I'll probably literally do it like 5 minutes before the game starts and I'll be like, okay, go.
I love it, Woude. Hey, that's some good stuff. That is the skip pass for today. Absolutely love that. I think Woude makes some great points. I'd love to know what people think is, what do you do with Barrett? And by that, I mean Beauden Barrett. You know, who's the better Barrett? I'd love to hear from people. I have my opinion, but Woude's made some great points. Maybe does rugby need to change the way we think? Woude's, I think, brought up a great point, is stop thinking about it as a 15-man game. Stop thinking about it as a 23-man game. It's a squad game. So start thinking about 30 people and maybe, like Woude says, pick your games. All right, they've maybe don't have, great rush defense on the counter-attack. You pick a fast back line and you rotate your bench to faster, smaller guys. Maybe Woude's got a point. What do you guys think? Woude, great stuff in there. Great stuff. Absolute pearlers in there and some great points to ponder. And I'm sure we'll discuss that in the future. That is the skip pass for today. And we have more questions, and that'll be coming up after this. It is Q&A, folks. Send them in if you're watching live. Otherwise, we do have some questions which were sent in by loyal listeners in the past. That is coming up in a little bit. All right, let's get straight into it. It is Q&A. The voice of God, Dave, what have you got for us? All righty, we got a little perler up front from Sihle Jam Jam. That is for Woude. He says, Geland will be brilliant under Dobson. Your thoughts, Woude Muller?
Yeah, I've said this before. I think Warwick will be much better under Dobson than he would be under Jake White. We know that Jake White likes his players to play a certain way, and they're not allowed to really express the way that they want to play. So I think under Dobson, he kind of gives freedom of expression to a lot of his players. So I think a lot will come out of Geland playing under him and playing at the Stormers. I think he will actually cause some havoc in that team, but I don't know if there's space for him in the Springbok team. So even though he'll be brilliant at the Stormers, I'm not sure if that's going to be enough for him to really play Springbok.
Yeah. All righty. Good stuff.
No? Yes?
Yeah,
you
good
agree?
stuff.
No?
No, I think you make some good points. Khafi de Toy, I think we've seen highlights of it before. We may have seen this movie before. Some people are Curry Cup and Super Rugby specialists. Khafi Dutoit being one of those. Next question. Ndogozo Majozi says, we didn't have a number 12 that was better than De Lande 2019. He's not great, but in 2019, he was the best out of all the other number 12s. Now, that's addressing in general, I think, when you picked your 12 for the best box, but also in general in 2019 and the current situation with Damian de Lande.
Yeah, look, I've never made any secret of it that I don't like Damian at all. I don't think he's a good player. I think before the World Cup, for the past 5-6 years, he hasn't produced anything brilliant. He hasn't been a good player. I think Andre Esterhuizen is probably one of the most underrated players in our country. And what we saw of him now before COVID hit him, and what a great centre pair they make. So currently, I think that will probably be our best centre pair moving forward. And I'm hoping that's what Rossi's going to see. But Damian in 2019, really the only impact that he really started making was in the quarterfinals. So was there anyone better? Probably. But you couldn't change your team to match from what Rassie had. Remember, Rassie only had 18 months to really make a difference. So he kind of needed to work with what he had. So he had to stick with Damian. I don't think he really had a choice. So for me, Damian only really played 3 good, okay matches in the World Cup. But I don't like him.
What is it about Damian's game? Wow, almost sounds personal. What is it about Damian's game you don't like as an inside center, just out of interest? Is there anything in particular?
I just don't. So what I would like from my inside center is to kind of be a second pivot, take some of that pressure off your fly half. And I think we're giving Andre a lot of flack, but I also think it's such a difficult situation for him because he doesn't have someone that can take that pressure off him, because Damian can't do that. I think Damian is a very selfish player, and maybe as your center, inside center, it's okay because he's just going to bash into the person in front of him. But then if you are going to bash into the person in front of you, at least carry the ball in the right hand so that you can offload. And he can't offload. He can't even carry the ball into contact. How many times has he knocked the ball on, carrying it into contact? So if that is your job that you need to do, then bloody do it. At least don't knock the ball on. Or offload it. We all see the Sonny Bill Williams offload. And we can't compare Damian to Sonny Bill Williams, but at least learn how to offload. And that's one thing that he actually did in the game against Wales. He actually, for once, carried the ball in the hand to be able to push the defender off and offload the ball.
Yeah, wow, impassioned stuff. I hear you, Woude. Hey, folks, what do you think? That's Woude saying, hey, Damian de Lande, you won a World Cup, but you better learn to offload. Because there are some people on his heels. Esterhuizen showed, like you said.
Yeah.
Whew. Damian de Lande not getting a Christmas card from Woude.
I've also always said that I think that Damian Willemse will make a very good 12. So I think there's another player that's quite on his heels for that position. Damien's a nice big guy. He can be a second pivot. He can kick. He can take the pressure off the fly half. So I don't think he's a fly half, Damien, and that's a discussion for another day. But I think he will make a good inside center.
Well, pretty soon you'll get to tell him to his face. Damien Willemse coming on the show soon. We'll keep a note of that, folks. Just remind Mr. Willemse when he's on. He's on in, if not next week, certainly the week after, that Woude Muller says, you are not a fly half. And I'm not getting involved in that one. I'm just telling you what Woude said. So you'll have your chance, Woude. You will have your chance. We're going to hold your feet to the fire. Damien Willemse, I hope you're not watching tonight, brother. But that's Woude Muller's take. Can't wait for that. That is going to get spicy. Looking forward to it. Hey, Woude, some good stuff. Let's go to the next question. Rico Swart says, we can be the most dominant force in world rugby for years as long as Rassie is given the freedom to build our rugby according to his vision without any interference from the outside.
I agree with that. But I think even before the World Cup, and maybe that's why we won the World Cup, Rassie was already given a lot more freedom than any other coaches before him. He basically could do what he wanted to do, pick the players that he wanted to pick. So I think he was already in a more fortunate position than other coaches before him. What I do think now, he is director of rugby. So, which means like his position allows him to control the internal and the external forces. I think people have enough faith in him that they do know that what he is planning and what he is doing is working. I think he's got a lot of backing from a lot of people. So I think they're going to give him the freedom to be able to do that. And yes, I think if he can, and I've said this before, we've got a very, very good chance to be dominant for the next few years. I don't think we were the best team in the World Cup to win the World Cup last year. You have to have luck in your side to win a World Cup. And I will say it over and over again. And I think we did have that. I think we were lucky that England played against New Zealand the week before. All of those things count in your favor as to win a World Cup. The biggest thing for me and this year would have been, would we have been able to keep our number one spot in the world, being ranked number one? Unfortunately, obviously now we can't play the test matches. I don't think we probably would have. But I do think in 4 years' time, we would have been in a very fortunate position to be dominant again.
Interesting. If you were Rassie Erasmus right now, right, let's just say, what would be the one thing you would try and focus on? Like, I mean, you can't do everything in life. For you as Springbok Director of Rugby, you've handed over to Nina, but now, for you, if you were Rassie Erasmus, what would you focus on?
I think I would focus on getting my combinations right for the next World Cup. I think we saw now that our combinations, or how important it is to have the good combinations. We talk about a good combination. It is Bakkies Botha, Victor Matfield. We had Jean de Villiers and Jacques Fourie, and I don't think we had that. And I would really focus on that. Even your scrum up and your fly half. So I think if he can get that right, we will be we will really, really be dominant. I do think also he's going to have to look at getting players to focus on what they need to do and getting your international players when playing overseas on the right page and on the same page as the South African players. I do think he's also got quite a difficult choice up front. You have to kind of choose who you're going to start. Are you going to decide to start Steven Kitshoff? Or is he such a strong player off the bench that you will keep him as the impact player? My eyes, Steven Kitshoff is probably the strongest impact player that the world rugby has ever seen. Are you going to take that away and put him in the more conservative position of starting? Because you have to have a more conservative prop to start because he has to play for longer, keep his energy. He's running against the first option prop on the other side. So I think that will be a very interesting thing to see.
Okay. Well, I mean, you couldn't even name one thing there. I mean, imagine what Rassie has to deal with. You went into a couple of things. Now, that's just two of the things Rassie has to deal with, but I think we've made great points. So Rassie has his inbox pretty full, I'm sure. Pretty full.
Look,
but okay, well, there you have it.
I don't want to be Rassie.
Rassie Erasmus. Okay. Next question. Ndogozo Majozi says, I thought that Villy is not great individually, but felt that he fit quite well into the back three. The back three as a unit, Mapimpi, Shezi, and Leroux worked well as a unit. Now, to put that in some context for people listening in particular, Woude, not the biggest fan of Wiley Leroux, right? Villy Leroux to those in South Africa. So, Woude, what do you think of that? And Dogozo saying Mapimpi, Shezi, and Leroux as a unit worked well together, even though Leroux may not be the best. Well, what do you think of that?
Well, I think with his two players on the outside, they're actually hiding Leroux's shortcomings because he was not good, and I really don't like him. And I don't think he should have even played in last year's World Cup. But Mapimpi and Colby did a lot of the work. And like I said, I think that work that they did was actually hiding his shortcomings. So it was kind of a win for everyone. I think Colby and Mapimpi looked like the heroes, and they kind of made Villy look a bit more acceptable. If it wasn't for them, Villy would not have been able to do what he did. I mean, Villy at least caught the ball out of the air in the final, which he didn't do against Japan.
Just want to tell you, Woude, he may also be on the show pretty soon. So hopefully Villy's not watching this either, because you may have cost us 2 guests now. But hey, fair call, right? So you're saying the wingers are kind of like makeup. They're hiding the bad spot at the back. That's Villy Leroux.
Yeah.
Okay, there you have it, folks. There you have it. Woude Muller has had her say. Jacques Joubert says Liverpool, Man City, and Chelsea to dominate the next 5 years. Chelsea just need to sort out their captaincy and add 1 or 2 more good signings, and they will win silverware. Hey, Jacques, I think I agree with you, because I think Azpilicueta is not good enough to start anymore. I think what you could do with Cesar is keep him. He's your maybe League Cup, and, when the Champions League is kind of over, you play him in those games. But then he manages the dressing room, because at that level, I've always said, the dressing room needs to manage itself. So if I were Lampard, Reece James is the guy now. He's ready. The physicality, the pace, the power, it's raw, it's unadulterated, and you need to release that horse now, because Reece James is ready to go. There's no such thing as too young. The old saying, hey, you're good enough, you're old enough. Put Reece James in there. Cesar Azpilicueta can fill in as the backup left back. I think we'll probably get Chilwell there for a ridiculous number. But I agree with you. And hey, be careful what you wish for. I think Chelsea might be ready for silverware this season. They've already shown they can beat Man City. A resurgent Man City, by the way. We'll see how it goes against Liverpool. I think Man United will be close, but we've seen Liverpool or Man United starting to show a little bit of fatigue now after lockdown. They haven't rotated their team. Ollie went 5 straight on the bounce without rotating. So I think the FA Cup will be an interesting battle. Let's see how that works out. United on tonight, of course. But I totally agree with you. Ziyech already in town. Ziyech already training. Turbo Timo is in town. You're talking maybe Chilwell at the back, a centre-back. They're talking about Havertz now, Chelsea being the only club that has the money, of course, unable to spend money last season. Frank Lampard, what he's done, if he comes top 4, didn't spend any money last season, Chelsea are going to have somewhere in the region of 200, 300 million pounds to refurbish a team that's already good enough to be in the top 4. Oh, look out. Look out. Jacques Joubert, I tend to agree with you there. Dave, what you got for us? By the way, that from a Chelsea fan, that question, Jacques Joubert, I think a really, really good question. Brooklyn Misfit says, Will Jordan does remind me of Jesse Creel circa 2015 before Heineke moved him to 13. Was it a mistake by Heineke Meyer?
That is quite an interesting question. And to be honest here, I actually haven't thought about that. Because I thought Jesse Kroll was actually quite good on centre, but now with Lekanya playing absolutely brilliantly at 13 and could probably be one of the best 13s in the world, that could maybe have caused South Africa to miss out on a very, very good fullback for the 2019 World Cup. That is a very interesting thing to think about. What do you think?
Well, keep in mind, Jesse Creel started as an outside back, right? He was playing fullback as a youngster, and he was playing wing as a youngster. For me, I've always said, and I'm being dead honest now, I would even now Cheslin Colby, you're out my team. Jesse Creel, you're in at right wing, because I love Jesse Creel's ability with ball in hand. Listen, you put the ball in Jesse Creel's hand, 30 meters out, the guy's a lightning machine. And also, what I love about him over Cheslin is it's going to come down to that game at the House of Pain. It's one-on-one. It's Rico Ioane. Size is he's going to walk over. He's going to squash Cheslin Colby like an ant. Jesse Creel gives you that solidarity. Plus, you don't lose the pace on attack. Jesse Creel with ball in hand is electrifying. Good under the high ball. I've never seen anything like that. But I've always thought this about Jesse Creel. 12 and 13 need to be probably your smartest players in rugby outside of your fly half. I don't like what's going on upstairs. Don't give Jesse the room to think. Don't let him think. Just let him be a physical specimen. So for me, I tend to agree with Brooklyn. I want Jesse Creel as the Bok wing now. I want Cheslin Colby out. I want Jesse Creel in.
But who would you then play at 15? Wouldn't you then play Cheslin Colby at 15?
No. Cheslin Colby, you're coming off the bench. You're a gadget guy. You're our Bowden Barrett.
I actually had a conversation with someone the other day, and I haven't made up my mind if I would rather play Cheslin Colby off the bench, because that is something that I actually brought up. But I thought maybe my thinking was so absolutely weird that I never mentioned it to anyone else. But now I'm glad that I'm not completely weird.
Yeah. I'd love to know what people think. I know there's...
But who would you play at 15 then?
Oh, Billy Leroux. I'd stick with it. I mean, if we're talking short term, if you're winning, why change? So for me, by the way, I'm not in on Cheslin. I want to be clear. I'm not in on Cheslin. I know there's Cheslin mania. I'm out, because test match rugby, I don't care how good you are. I think we had Keegan Daniel on a couple of weeks ago. Keegan Daniel made a great point, and I agreed with him. He said, we mustn't get obsessed with being the best team at the World Cup and thinking that makes you the best team. There's holes in the team. I'm sorry, size matters. Size matters. Cheslin, love you off the bench, 20 minutes to go. Oh my God. Can you imagine Cheslin Colby coming from fullback or wing with 20 minutes to go, tired legs? Oh my goodness. Listen, we saw what Cheslin did to relatively fresh guys in the World Cup final for that try. Imagine put 60, 70 minutes in legs. Cheslin Colby, electrification off the bench. Electrification. I
just can never agree with you on keeping Billy Leroux at 15. So.
Hey, nice problem to have, right? This is a great position. The Springboks, for the first time in a long, long time. When was the last time the Springboks had a problem at picking outside backs?
Exactly.
And
this is the one thing that I'm really missing about the fact that we're not playing the test matches this year. So obviously we would have been playing against Scotland now, and our second test match would have been against Scotland this weekend, I think. Or would have been Georgia. Anyway. Yep. It would have been really interesting for me to see what the youngsters could do, giving a player like Apelele Fati a chance to play at fullback, to see what he can do in that team. Because I do think he's a brilliant player, and it would have been really interesting to see that. Even if you want to put Damian Willems at 15. Try those things. So it's such a pity that we can't play test match rugby this year. So I have said this before, though, with the Lions tour coming up next year, we can't make too many changes. So yes, Damien Delinda's probably going to play. Billy Leroux is probably going to play.
Try not to get too enthusiastic about that, Vody. Dave, what you got for us next? Vody's out on those two. Senzo Sitebe says, what is your opinion on Zinedine Zidane as a manager? I think he has it. He is doing a different thing at Real Madrid and looking more to the youth and isn't there to nurse egos. I think it's a tricky one. You know, when you think of winning the Champions League 3 times in a row, and Zizou, of course, listen, no, the hardest sacking you might have to do in any business history is trying to sack Zinedine Zidane. You try and sack Zinedine Zidane at Real Madrid. That might be even for an egomaniac, a megalomaniac like Florentino Perez. How do you get rid of Zinedine Zidane? Unless he says, I'm out. So for me, I think he might have Wenger syndrome. You're never going to win 3 Champions Leagues again. Anything less than that, and it's not good enough from Zizou. I think he should have let it go. I think what he should have done was he should have gone to France. You wait for Didier Deschamps. You maybe go and wait around Europe. You go and consult. You go and do your thing. He's got a young family. His son, of course, is an up-and-coming goalkeeper. And then you wait around for the France job. You let obviously Euros next year. France, however it plays out, I think it's done. Deschamps will be gone. And then you become France manager, and then you go and try and win a World Cup and a Euros. That's what I would have done. Do I like and I'm a Real Madrid fan, by the way. Do I like what he's done? Not a good start. Eden Hazard, no good. You spend too much money now on 2 players where you failed. Jovic, Eden Hazard, no good. And by the way, let's be clear. At Real Madrid, we don't care if you win La Liga. That's expected. It's about the big one. Can you get big years? Zinedine Zidane under the pump. And if you can't win 2 or 3 in a row, why'd you come back? So for me, let sleeping dogs lie. I don't agree with Zidane coming back. Do you know, I've got a life rule, whether you like it or not. If you break up with your girlfriend and you leave, never go back. I don't care how good you think it might be, because the reason you left will always exist. Whether you like it or not, people don't have to agree with me. I have a hard and fast rule on that, and I'm a pretty hard-headed guy. So, you know, I just don't. I don't like going back. I don't like going back. Dave, what you got for me? Brooklyn Misfit, cricket question. All right. If I was the powers that be at CSA, I would pick David Miller to bat first in the test side. It's not the craziest idea, but it's based on the gut feel, a la Gary Kirsten picking Philander. Ooh. Hey, that's a tough one for me. Because I don't rate David Miller. So you've probably come to the worst place. I just think there's too many holes in his technique. We've given him a chance now in the middle order in one-day cricket. We've given him a chance in test cricket. And we've kind of tried him everywhere, right? We've tried him at 4, 5, 6. We've given him 2 years now. David Miller in short spurts. I want to take David Miller like medicine, right? I want a little bit of him, because too much of him will kill me. He's not good enough. He's not good enough technically. Remember, to play test cricket, especially at the top, I've always said, and I promise you this isn't hindsight, the hardest job in cricket is to be an opening batsman in test cricket. Because there is no fiercer thing. Because you make half a mistake, it's you edge something just outside your eye line, gone. Because it's 3 slips, 2 gullies at the beginning. Right? You get the worst conditions. In the morning, it's swinging, it's wet, it's dewy. You get all the worst conditions all the time. Right? That awkward 15 minutes at the end of a session when you bowl a team out, and now it's day 2 and the sun's setting. You got to face, 3, 4 overs. It's the worst job in cricket. David Miller's already shown me that even if you make him comfortable against the old ball, it's purely a matter of technically as a cricketer, he's not up to being in the middle order. You expect him to go and open in test cricket against a Duke ball at Lords? Don't love it. Don't love it. I see David Miller not even good enough to play one-day cricket. He can't even build an innings in one-day cricket. He's a gadget guy. He's really, what to me, what Miller is a Richard Levy who's in shape. That's it. That's all he is. One-trick pony. That's what I got to say. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. That's how I feel. Miller, I'm out. What you got for me, Dave?
So, Mbolelo, we've really been harsh on the South African players. No.
Hey, I feel how I feel. I'm going to tell you, this isn't mainstream media, people. If you want a hug, go to your mom. This is about the truth. Cliff Central Sport. I feel how I feel. All right. Vody, we got something for you from Brooklyn Misfit. He says, Vody, last week I said Kerwin Bosch at 10 and Damien Willis at 12 for exactly the reason you just laid out, but you disagreed. Oh, well, there we go, Vody. What do you say? Are you a hypocrite?
I didn't disagree with you. No, I didn't disagree. I didn't even know that you told me that. So, no, I have been saying that Kerwin Bosch is definitely a better team than Damien Willis is. And I actually have a whole argument for that. So maybe next week I will talk about that. But Kerwin Bosch is just such a great general in the number 10 jersey. He's been doing brilliant work at the Sharks in the Super Rugby campaign this year. His kicking has been great. His kicking percentage is much better than Damien Willems's is. And I just think he's just brought such a calmness in that Sharks team from that position. For me, Damien Willems is too selfish to play 10. He doesn't pass the ball. He plays for himself first before he plays for the rest of the team. And I'm sorry, as a team, you can't do that. He doesn't have the brilliance of Beauden Barrett, to be able to play like that. So Bowden can still get away with a little bit more, and I know you're going to disagree with me, Malala, but he can still get away with being a little more selfish because he's so brilliant in so many other things. Whereas Damian Willemse doesn't have that. Damian Willemse does have the size, so for me, playing him at 12 would be a much better option.
Okay, well, here's what I love about the internet, Woude. If you did lie and Brooklyn Misfit is right, we can look that up. And now you're a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite that may be in a relationship with your own niece who just got born 2 days ago.
Nephew.
Oh, nephew, sorry. Hey, Woude, niece, nephew. It's okay. It's okay for women and women to be in relationships. Let's respect that safe space. All right, but good point there on Damian Willemse. Hey, Brooklyn Misfit, told you, you're not coming here for hugs and to make a sandwich. Woude will tell you how she feels. Jesse Randolph says, so soccer question. What do you think of Arsenal's fantastic result yesterday after hating on them? And what do you think about chances against Man City this weekend? Jesse Randolph, listen, man. I put up a tweet today to say next year we're celebrating 18 seasons of Arsenal not winning the Premier League, right? That's not me hating on Arsenal. It's Arsenal hating on Arsenal. When you go 18 seasons without winning the league and you expect me to take you seriously, come on, brother. Hey. Jesse, brother, sister, it may be either. Come on. You expect me to take you seriously when you haven't won a league title in 18 years? You haven't won the Champions League ever. It's Arsenal hating on Arsenal. Now, the result yesterday, I'll address it. Let's be honest. And I've said it before. I'll address it in another thing. But stop comparing this Liverpool team to the Invincibles. They're on holiday now. When was the last time you saw Virgil van Dijk make a mistake like that? Alisson is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. You haven't seen that from him in a season and a half. So I think your victory yesterday, I'll tell you as a positive for Arsenal, what I liked about yesterday. Like it or not, Sadio Mane was gunning for them. Right? Mo Salah gunning for them yesterday. I thought the resilience Arsenal showed for 45 minutes in the second half was incredible. Now, can you build on that? I'm not so sure. So I think congratulations on the result, but I don't think you got a full guns blazing Liverpool. So let's all settle down here. What do I think about your chances against Man City this weekend? Listen, Pep Guardiola, they got a chance to win a title. Got to tell you, I'm seeing 4 or 5-0. Arsenal, you're niche. And have you seen Raheem Sterling? And I'm not big on Sterling, but have you seen him? Jesus, what they're doing? Riyad Mahrez is maybe back to player of the season form. Forget it. Jesse, I hate to break your heart. 4-5-0 this weekend. So what do I think of Arsenal's chances against Man City? I don't think about them because they don't exist. You have no chance. 0 chance, Jesse. Dave, what you got for me? Zedo Rover says, what do you think so far of Woude Muller? I reckon he has something special there, but people are far too quick to get on young players' backs these days. Good question there. Woude, you want to take that?
Isn't Woude Muller a cricket player?
Is he the... no, not big on it. Not big on any of the new talent. I was thinking...
to be honest, I
thought maybe he was...
No, but I do think in general we are very, very hectic on our younger players. So even if we take his name out of this, I think you have to slowly but surely start managing your younger players coming through the ranks. And I think that's one thing that we do in South Africa. And Bulele, you mentioned this yesterday. It's also that we keep our senior players there for such a long time that the junior players are not getting opportunities to really play. And then all of a sudden the senior players leave and we expect the young players to all of a sudden just step into that position and then all of a sudden be brilliant players. And that's not going to happen. If you haven't played at that level, you can't expect them to perform at that level. You have to start getting them in. Yes, I agree they should start playing, but you can't expect them to be on that top level. You can't expect the young players to be, you can't expect Apelele Fati to be Percy Montgomery than Percy Montgomery was in his final years or in his golden years. But they're not going to learn.
To be honest, I'd even forgotten there was a Woude Muller. Yeah, the Proteas are so sad. I've even forgotten that this thing was real. And to be clear, for me, I don't care about guys that play T20 or one-day cricket. So to be honest with you, I don't think anything until you can play Test cricket. If you can't play Test cricket, you don't exist to me. That's why David Miller, get rid of him. Anyone who can't play, if you can't play Test cricket, go over there. Go over there. Go play with the little kids under the tree because the big boys want to play Test cricket. So, Zeta Rover, I don't think of Woude Muller because I haven't seen him in the Test scene. Brooklyn Misfit says, Mbulelo, there's two key decisions Graeme Smith needs to make to put SA back on track to being a dynasty. Aiden Markram needs to be captain and bat 4 in the Test side, and we need to recall Riley Rosso ASAP. Hey, Brooklyn Misfit, great points. So I have to agree on the Aiden Markram thing. It is diabolical that they made Dean Elgar the captain. It is diabolical. It is so asinine and stupid. It is so stupid. I'll tell you why. We suck anyway. We suck anyway now. What you do is you take the Graeme Smith thing. You swallow the pill on Aiden Markram and you go all in on him. You say, Aiden, we don't care how you perform the next 5 years. It doesn't matter. You don't need to worry about performance, whatever. You're our captain, just like we did with Graeme Smith, because, hey, Graeme Smith, first 4 years of performance, bumpy. But we're all in. And then you build around Aiden Markram. Whether you're going to open with Markram or whether you're going to go with him in the middle order, personally, I think go with him at 4, because I think we're making the same mistake we did with AB de Villiers. We've seen now. He can't play it when it's full, right? And his defense is not tight enough. We've seen how many in-swingers are coming in between bat and pad. If you don't have that, if you're not watertight at that level, sorry, it's not going to work in Test cricket, especially with the quality of bowling that's around at the moment. Is they pitch it up, they'll move it late, and it's trouble. And we've seen he plants that front foot, and as an opening batsman, you can't do it. Can't do it, won't win with it. So for me, it's stupid that Elgar's the captain. Why? For me, Elgar is on the edge of whether he should be in the team or not. Now, Elgar's probably out, 2-3 years? Because he's 31 now. For me, put Markram in now. It's your team. And what you do, just like you did with Graeme Smith, give Markram all the power now. Let Markram make a short list. Right, these guys, 5 or 6 youngsters, are the core of the team. We ride or die with them. That's what I would have gone with as Smith. That's what I would have gone with. So I could not agree with you more. What was the second point there, Dave, that was asked? I think he said Smith had another decision to make and bring back Riley Rousseau. So, Brooklyn, I got to be honest with you. South Africa is not a country that's ever going to run out of talent. For me, if you leave, I'd like to start encouraging, and even if we don't have the quality on our shores, which I believe is nonsense, because we got some guy called Woude Muller, apparently. But if we don't have the talent on our shores, doesn't matter. Stick with the local talent. If you want to go and get your Colpack money, if you want to go and get your money overseas, no problem. Go with it. Go with it. I've got no problem. Leave, but stick with the local talent. So for me, Riley Rousseau, hey, go and do your thing at the Colpack. In cricket, reward the guys that stay, because there's a big financial hit that you take by staying. And some people who are good enough to go and get Colpack contracts don't go. So what are we saying to those guys? Reward them. But I would put Markram at the center of SA cricket, and not tomorrow, not Dean Elgar as the captain, right now. That would be me. So I agree with you there, and brilliant points made, and I agree on the Markram thing. Dave, we've got one more, I believe. Senzo Sitebe says, Kalas Tenduka, Ponting, Lara, and Sangakkara. Who is the best? Rank from 1 to 5. For me, Ponting out on his own. So Ponting's better than everyone on that list. It's not even close. Because no one else on that list had the type of responsibility Ponting had. You know, in life and in sport, there's one defining factor. There's one defining factor that separates the very, very good from the very, very best. It is called expectation. Expectation. Ricky Ponting, what was the expectation? Alan Border, Steve Waugh. 2 captains that have made 10,000 runs. Oh no. And now I've got to be captain. Oh no, I'm with Steve Waugh. He's won the World Cup. He's gone away to India and won. He's probably the toughest guy to ever live in cricket sense. Oh no, I've got to follow that up. Oh, I tell you what I'll do. I'm Ricky Ponting. I'm going to go win you another World Cup final. I was at the World Cup final, by the way, when he made the most ridiculous 100 in World Cup final history, and maybe World Cup history. And then go and make 10,000 runs in both formats of the game, 13,000 runs. And it's much harder to be Ponting and make runs around the world. So for me, Ponting out on his own. To rank the rest, I would have to go Tenduka just sheerly for the weight of runs. But I still think Tenduka made too many runs in India where it's flat and you can make so many runs because all the grounds are basically like playing in a tee, like in a cereal bowl. That's how small the grounds are. Too many cheap runs for Tenduka. Way too many cheap runs. No one ever talks about how many cheap runs are in India. Too many cheap runs. So, but I put Tenduka second, play from 16. You start in one of the biggest pressure cookers in the world, right? Imagine being the star from 16 until 40 in India. Apparently, Sachin Tenduka can't even drive his cars. He loves Ferraris, apparently. Can't drive his cars during the day. So I put Tenduka second for that. I put Lara third. Special, right? In a loser mentality West Indies. Losers. In the words of Fikile Mbalula, bunch of losers. Lara maintained. He maintained, scored 10,000 runs at around 50. Insane. Cullis, well, Cullis is Cullis. Kumar Sangakkara, tremendous. I'd put him at 5. I'd say tremendous. And I'd put Kumar, and he's unlucky. Maybe I'll redo this ranking. I'll think about it as a Friday at 5. Kumar Sangakkara was also one of the best wicket keepers we've ever seen in the history of cricket. How do you tell a great keeper? Can you keep the spin? My God, he kept to Mutta Murladeuren. It feels like he never dropped a thing. So for me, Ponting out on his own, you can take your pick from the rest. Tough one. Great question, Senzo Sitebe. For the Q&A, by the way, folks, great Q&A. Great Q&A. We'll do that more and more. It's 20:42 on my clock, folks. It is awesome. To everybody who keeps making the choice to join us, right? I thank you very much. Today has been such an incredible Q&A. Great skip past today, Woude Muller. I had lots of fun. Great to have you on the show again. You're back again with us on Monday.
On Monday, I will give my review. If I made any mistakes, I will apologize and swallow my pride and admit that. And I will obviously pick my team of the week. So,
Woude, I've got to tell you, I don't believe you for a second.
What?
I don't think you're going to apologize or come back and what are you, a changed woman now that you've met a 1-year-old or a baby? That's changed your whole world. Folks, I'd just like to correct Woude there. She won't, a 4-day-old, Woude will not apologize. She will not swallow her pride. That was the skip pass. But yes, Woude, I thought today was awesome, man.
I enjoyed it, and thank you for all the questions. Please keep sending them in so we can answer them, and it keeps us thinking, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Woude, it was awesome. Always great to have you with us. Cannot wait to keep growing that platform. The Skip Pass is getting more and more popular. People love it. Woude, a fan favorite. Folks, for today, remember, like, share, subscribe, be a friend, tell a friend, as they say, for the 16th of July. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a different ball game. Cannot wait. Tomorrow, Friday, we'll wrap up with the Friday 5 and we'll go into the weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, for today, it's been a different ball game.